Hello, everybody. My name is Chris, and welcome to the East Whittier Middle School Instrumental Music Program House of Horror YouTube channel. Again, my name is Chris, and here with me today is Ryan Rusin. He's a former Not Scary Farm actor, as well as one of our Scare School instructors and one of our scare actors here at the House of Horror at East Whittier. So Ryan, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, let the people know kind of your background in scare acting and what projects you've been working on currently for your own personal Halloween status.
For sure. Yeah, hi guys. As you said, my name's Ryan. Halloween has been a love of mine since I've been little. It all started around, I'd say, like 5 years old when I started to really get a choice of like, oh, are you going to trick or treat, or do you want to do what my older sibling at the time was doing? My sister, she was building home haunts, and she would always throw a little haunted house display here with her friends. And every year I'd see that, and I thought, you know what? That looks interesting. Like I want to try that out. Let's try something different than just getting candy. And well, that's how she wrote it. And I started haunting, started helping her build it, scaring it. And from there, that's what I did every Halloween. Eventually that led to me wanting to see other haunts. And that began with me going to Scary Farm first thing when I was about 12. Probably was too young. I got super scared, and that kind of made me like eager though to scare even better, like with what we did, you know. So that's what was funny is like we always were taught, like as with horror or anything scary, to make what would scare you. And that's kind of what got me to love horror and the genre itself. And, you know, from watching horror movies, going to these haunt events, it just kind of became a passion of mine. And looking now in recent years, last year we hosted a home haunt again after a hiatus of about 3 years since I was working here. And it went really successfully. We had about 500 guests, I'd say, go through Halloween night. Got great reviews. People were saying, like, one of the things they really liked about it was we had a good flow of guests going through. You know, there's no wait. You know, people are just able to go through, enjoy the experience without, you know, colliding into one another, which was cool. And that's, you know, building immersion, building atmosphere. That then goes into what my my main passion is now, and what I'm pursuing is screenwriting, storytelling, and filmmaking. And amidst COVID and everything, we unfortunately aren't doing a haunt of any kind this year, but I decided to produce a horror short film, which will currently be released this coming October. So we're looking forward to that, and it's in the books. It'll be ready in a couple weeks here.
That's awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like your love for Halloween and just all things scary started at a young age, like 5 years old, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing for me. I remember like watching like Child's Play and Exorcist, like all these scary movies when I was young. Maybe I shouldn't have been watching them that young, but I did. And that, you know, that kind of always intrigued me. Like, you know, like all things scary. You know, I think people love being scared. It's like it's a fun emotion to have. And I totally see like get into, you know, scary movies at a young age. And then it's funny you mentioned about the going through your haunted house. So there was no conga lines, right? Not like
no
none
conga
of that.
Lines. We had good, you know, we had somebody manage at the front that was just doing a good job getting them through. And people said that's what scared them so much, is we were just doing, you know, one group at a time, and we're just managing it. Like when they got about 3/4 through, we could send in the next group. It was only about a 2 to 2.5 minute walkthrough. So once they hit that, like, I'd say minute 30 mark, we sent the next group in. And that gave them an experience to really be alone in the haunt, while also hearing the distant, you know, finale, like the screams and them running away. So it was like this sense of dread as well. It's like, oh my goodness, what's waiting for me around the corner?
Right. No, that's awesome. That feeling, that immersive experience, that it's just you and the environment that's around you, as well as the other scare actors. That's pretty cool.
That's it.
And for those of you watching, Ryan and I, we actually met about 3 years ago in 2017 at Knott Scary Farm. Both Ryan and I, we were working at the same maze together. We're both working at the maze called Paranormal Inc, which is actually still there to this day. Super popular maze, been around since 2015. Ryan and I, we actually both had the same character. We were both nurses, scary nurses. Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about your experience, your first year working at Knott's, and then as well as your second year in the streets?
Yes. The first year at Knott's was just one of those magical moments where like everything kind of aligned. Like I couldn't have asked for a better rookie year, and I feel like you'd agree with me on that front, Chris. Like that year, just everything seemed to work well. When I got put into Paranormal after the audition, and I met our cast lead at the time, Byron, I just knew this was going to be special because he was just so enthusiastic. I could tell he had a love for it. And when he told me a little bit about this demented nurse character, like that was just so enthralling and inspired off like the movie Sinister, but also a little bit of Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, like that just, I was hooked. And then when we tried on the costume, I was like, oh, this is going to be really special, and seeing the mask and everything. That year, I would say was still my favorite year of the time I worked at Knott's, because we just had such a good environment. We had such a good cast, and we had such a great room and space to work with as the nurse. You know, we had that illusion where it was like the one-way mirror where we could see out, but they couldn't see in. All they saw was a reflection. And then we could turn on that light and they would see us and they thought, oh, is it a painting? Like, what is that?
Right.
And
yeah.
As they rounded the corner, we literally could open the wall and pop out of it. And it just was such a classic but effective scare that worked so well and worked well for the environment. And knowing it was like a ghost, I thought that was so well to work with the design, is like we could literally go through walls essentially. So.
Oh, I remember a few times, I think our cast schedule kind of overlapped. And I remember getting to scare with you a few times. And I remember you were crazy, man. Like I remember you jumping off hey, I'm going to get this, watch this. And you get on top of the chair and you jump off of it and like land right in front of like the guests coming through. And man, you got so many good scares off that. Like, and I remember even this time where Seth McFarlane, I was waiting in line. My shift had ended already, and I was like, I'm going to go through the maze. And I remember I was waiting in line, and Seth McFarlane, for those of you who don't know, is the creator of Family Guy. So he was right behind me with his little entourage. And I remember we were going through. We're the last ones to go in. I was the last one in line, and he was right behind me. The park was pretty much closed already. And I remember like going through, and I think, Ryan, did I tell you that Seth McFarlane was coming through, or did you? Oh no, you were trying to get me, right?
Yeah, I was trying to get you.
Trying to get me.
That was my focus.
Right. You were trying
to
get
Chris. I gotta get the other nurse, man.
Yeah. And then it just so happened that Seth McFarlane was the next guy right behind me.
Right,
you got him pretty good, right?
And that's who I got. Byron told me they gave out those haunt cards, that were kind of like, a good job on the scare. That was really good. And I remember he gave me one. He kind of lagged back. He let them walk forward. I didn't even know it was Seth MacFarlane at the time because it's so dark. We're seeing through eye holes this big. And he said, hey, Ryan, come here. Because it was over, and he said, take this. And he gave me a haunt card, and he said, you know who that just was? I said, no, I thought I was scaring Chris. That was Chris, right? And he's like, no, that was Seth MacFarlane you just scared. And he just said you did a good job. And so that was cool, and I remember Byron even told me the following year, ironically enough, I was at Universal Studios, and the group I was with, they gotten a message, and it was Byron, and he said, oh, Ryan's with you. He's like, just wanted to let you know. And I think it's because he was working on the Orville, Byron was. And so he knew Seth and everything from that experience. And he said, Seth still says to this day, that scared him to death when the nurse came out. Like, that was one of his favorite scares. So, and I think it all just worked because I was trying so hard to scare you. I was like, it's going to take all my energy to scare Chris. And then little did I know, I missed you, but I got Seth. So I guess it worked out.
It worked out. So I kind of, I'll take credit. I'll take the assist on that one.
Yeah, the assist on that, man. Definitely.
That's awesome. And then you want to talk a little bit before we get into the House of Horror material. Did you want to talk a little bit about your experience as a street zone monster in Forsaken Lake?
Yes. So that was a really, I'd say, challenging, but also just like humbling and cool experience to actually debut an attraction. So like Chris said, for Paranormal Inc., that had already been kind of pre-established in 2015 when we got there in 2017. It had already been a fan favorite, and that it was just kind of upping the ante with it. But with Forsaken Lake, when I got into that attraction, it was the first year it had ever been there. You know, nobody knew what to expect. We didn't know what to expect. It was a brand new zone. And for those who don't know, zones, or street zones as they're called, are essentially these outdoor environments that you go through and are kind of forced to navigate through in between mazes, you know, going from completing one maze and getting across the park to the next maze. You have to go through a scare zone, and each scare zone has its unique theme. You know, Knott's has some classics, obviously, like the old Western ghost town, which is full of ghouls, goblins, witches, skeletons. Then you have the boardwalk section of the park, which is filled with clowns and carnies and that kind of fear. And then you had the Fiesta Village, which had a Day of the Dead theme, and that was really cool. You had the sugar skulls and everything. And then for us this year was Forsaken Lake, which was like this bayou slash Victorian era town that had sunken into the lake under the Silver Bullet ride, was the story. And that each year, with the power of like these fallen angel reaper characters, the dead were resurrected and came back out of the water as like these drowned, half dead zombie characters, but they were from the era. So that's what was hard. It was playing a character that had essentially passed in the 1800s and then bringing that into the modern world, which was a tough thing at first, but they trained us well. Andrew Lockerbie was our cast lead. I think he did a great job in training us and prepping us for that. It was just a lot of rehearsals beforehand. I'd say that's the difference between a street zone and a maze. We had a lot more rehearsing beforehand. And it was also working with your space. When you're in a street zone, you don't have the comfort or assistance of the set that's built and designed for this environment to really immerse people. And you're not entrapped in a walled space. When you're out on the streets, you're working with open air environment and just lighting and fog. And so you don't have a lot of hiding places. It's more about embodying the character and the atmosphere, and it's all movement. You know, so for my character, I actually ended up being one of the Reaper characters, which is like this fallen angel kind of guy. And his role was a lot less about coming out and pop scaring you everywhere, but more about being intimidating and being kind of in control of everything. You're kind of the mastermind of who resurrected all these characters. So it was really about owning that character and the movement and being tall, strong. And I kind of took that, you know, some notes from horror movies I'd seen of creature features, you know. So obviously he was not like Wolfman, where it'd be hunched over and bringing claws. It was more like a Frankenstein, where it's brooding and it's intimidating and it's not necessarily in your face scary, but it's frightening as in like, what's he gonna do? This is unexpected. And that I could work with and get some good scares. But it was definitely different. It was a total shift from the nurse role to that role, you know. And Byron was actually the one I auditioned in front of for that, I remember. And he said, I think if anybody's up for the task, it's you, man. So, you know, give this a shot and just give it your all. It's going to be different, but I think you can make it work. And we did. And I give a lot of props to Tim as well, our costume designer at Knott's, who just made this beautiful, intricate, blue, greenish, gray design that was just so unsettling. Just the appearance itself. You had just the one wing coming out, and there's no other wing. You know, it's like this shattered, drowned creature. And I had a little freedom with the face, so I could do whatever contacts I wanted. And I decided to kind of do, since he was a fallen angel, I had one side where I left my normal eye with the wing, and the other side I made it like a dead side and did like an all white contact lens, which that really creeped people out, because if I did a side profile, it looked normal this side and it was totally different that side, which gave a neat effect. And I had a great makeup artist there as well, who she just knocked it out of the park every night.
No, I remember the costume you had. I remember seeing you scare that year in 2018, that one wing, and then you being like, how tall are you, like 6'3",
6'4", 6'4".
6'4", tall, intimidating guy with I remember seeing the one contact, a white contact, and just like your demeanor and how you move was like crazy. And I think I even went up to you, but you didn't recognize, like you must have been in the zone or something. And like your focus of that character was insane. So kudos to you, and kudos to everybody that worked that street zone that year. It was, I had a blast going through that zone, and hopefully they keep it up, because I really enjoy Forsaken Lake. Definitely. So let's kind of start talking about how you got involved with the East Witter House of Horror. I know I was the one that kind of roped you in a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about why did you decide to come on board and help out with the middle school haunt?
So definitely, man. I remember you'd reached out to me. It was the year I did Forsaken. Yeah, it was that year. I knew, because I worked Knott's that year, I couldn't unfortunately do the maze, but you reached out to me to help come teach the kids or talk to the kids. And that idea just already struck me. I was so excited, because coming from like a love of filmmaking and like directing and anything that's like in casting, you know, that kind of thing, I love passing down that knowledge. Because kind of like with our great cast leads we've had, like Andrew and Byron, you know, they were able to pass down their knowledge to us. And I remember we actually went together to a bunch of those optional scare schools they hosted throughout the course of our 2017 year, where you're able to refine our craft and refine our skills. And that was something that stuck out to me about you. I remember, like, I'd already liked you because you had, you know, the love for the nurse character and Halloween, and we got to know each other backstage. But that's when I knew, I was like, oh, this guy's different. Like, he's cool, because you were like putting in the extra man hours. And I know you work a full-time job as a teacher as it is already, but here you are showing up early. You're showing up to do extra rehearsals and work you didn't have to do, but you know, you did it. And it's so invaluable to have that extra experience. It's kind of like that idea of the 10,000 hours, you know, you put in the 10,000 hours, you can really master a craft. And being able to pass that down to people, I think, is invaluable as well, to the individual as much as to the student, because when you teach, you even learn more. You learn about how different people work, how they learn. You get to learn new methods of how to communicate your ideas clear, and how to find more effective ways, because, you know, what might have worked for you might not work for everybody. So you got to think outside the box of like, well, what is a method I could make work for everybody, and should I try employing that myself? So when you reached out to me about that, I think it was such a cool experience. And when I showed up, I had no idea the magnitude of this event. But then I saw the amount of kids and the amount of volunteers and the amount of just people on deck to help out with this thing that year. And I remember 2018, I was really bummed that I couldn't actually work the haunt. But then when I took my hiatus from Knott's the following year, and we did the carnival, I remember you reached out to me as the theme, and I wasn't working Knott's. You know, I needed to fill my my love for Halloween, and I thought, well, let's just go all hands on deck with this year then. And actually getting to see the haunt that year, as opposed to the prior year, it blew me away. When you gave me the walkthrough, and I was seeing the pictures that you and Ryan were taking of the panels and the event, it was exceptional. It's not what you'd expect from a middle school at all. It matched what you see at these top tier multi-million-dollar events.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I first asked you to help out, it was good 2018, you're working at Knott still. I mean, I wasn't sure what you're going to say. But I know you had a love, obviously, for haunts, and you're an exceptional scare actor. But I'm like, I don't know, is he going to want to come and teach a bunch of middle schoolers how to scare? And so I wasn't sure what you're going to say. And when you said, yeah, you know, I'll come and help out, and even though, you know, you couldn't actually participate in the haunt because, you know, you're working at Scary Farm, just like you volunteering your time to teach the kids. And I can't tell you like how excited they were. I remember telling them, it was you and
Yep.
Dixie were the ones that helped out the first year with the scare school. And this is, the scare school wasn't something that had ever been done before. I mean, I don't know if there's even anywhere in California a scare school for middle school kids.
I would argue nowhere in the country even.
Probably nowhere in the country, especially scare actors from Not Scary Farm, let alone, So that year was you and Dixie, and you guys came in. I told the kids, I said, hey, like, we're going to have trained professional Not Scary Farm actors. They're going to come and they're going to show you guys how to scare. And I remember they were all super excited. Like that day, I remember we had the meeting, the scare school, and there were so many kids there, and it was impressive. And at first, the kids were kind of shy and, they're trying to break out of their shell. But I think by the second scare school, they were getting more familiar with like the scare techniques. And once the House of Horror actually began, you could tell that a lot of their training that they had from yourself and Dixie, where they put it to use. And last year, wow, the scare acting was great. And we had more help last year. We had Ryan Banfield from Haunted Rose was there. He not only was one of our core team members that helped construct and plan the House of Horror, but he was also one of the scare actors too. And he's one of the scare school instructors. And just having all of that knowledge and experience, these kids ate it up. And last year with the Carnival of Fear, the scare acting, it was top notch. And I give a lot of that credit to you guys, the people that volunteered, because, for those of you that don't know, we don't get paid. This is a completely, the House of Horror is a completely volunteer event. We do not get paid. We're out there because we have a love for not just like scaring people and Halloween, but, but for the music program as well. This is the House of Horror is a fundraiser for the music program. They do awesome things. They're wonderful kids and they're exceptional musicians. And it's just our way of giving back to the community, especially, the school. So, thank you, Ryan, for helping out the past couple of years. And hopefully we can continue, this, scaring, learning, teaching kids to scare.
Oh, for sure. What's so cool about events like this too is, and you see it from our year at Knott's, really looking back, that was just one season. It was 5 or 6 weeks. And yet here we are 3 years later, still talking, still in touch. And that goes to show what, Halloween in the fall season and this haunt community can do for people is it brings lives together. It's a unifying task when you get to like put your minds to, get the creative gears turning and then make something come to fruition together and work together.
For sure.
There's no better camaraderie than that. And you really get to make lasting friendships for life, and that's what's so cool about it.
I agree, man. No, I totally agree. Now, you kind of touched upon this a little bit. You had mentioned about a bit of the production value, that you were surprised that for being a middle school haunt, it was as elaborate as it was. Can you expand upon that a little bit? Talk a little bit about what did you think of the production value and the overall like scare factor of the maze?
For sure. So what shocked me going into it is like you see just your everyday, gym, when we were doing scare school and all that. It's just a middle school gym. You do not think that you could put a haunted house in there, especially for a school that would be anything, more than just the black plastic sheets or anything that, some strobe lights here and there, the cobwebs or any of that. But then I remember we showed up to the dress rehearsal and I walk up to the school and I see this 12 to 14 foot clown facade with like bulb lights and the mouth, and you walk through, it's curtained. And I remember you walked me through that, and you would never have known it was a gym, ever, just going through that. You had the showroom, you had the clown room where there was just colorful walls everywhere. These are like wood paneling walls too, and things that you'd see only with the most professional of sets. The man hours that went into this thing just to build it and to prep for it was incredible. Not to mention the floor design for this. This is not something you could just put together overnight. This was something that was put together over weeks and that was planned for months. and it shows when you walk through. And the lighting, you know, when you have the minds of somebody like Banfield on this project, who can, you know, who's done this for decades and has so much experience with set design and lighting, and, you know, working at the events like this one, you know, designing their haunts. He brought that to this middle school because he cared. When you get people who care and who have a love for what they're doing and all join on this one idea, it's amazing what that can put together. And what surprised me more than anything else was the immense amount of work and effort the parents put in. You could tell some of these parents, you know, they really, you know, look out for their kids and care about their kids, because they put every waking hour into this thing. And it goes to show they love their school too. It's a testament to you guys for running a great program in school there, because they wouldn't have put in these man hours unpaid if it wasn't that.
No, I totally agree. I mean, from start to finish, I mean, there's hundreds of hours that get put in by a variety of different people. And it's truly a labor of love. And just being a part of the event for the past couple of years, you get to kind of see all the talents of all of the volunteers that work the event, whether they're parents or friends. You know, everyone has a different skill set. You know, there might be somebody that's really good at carpentry, that, hey, I can make anything out of wood. I can make those walls for you. You need this, all right, I'll make that. And other people, their skills are like figuring out like scare factor, like, well, what can we do to make this room scarier? You know, other people, there might be, you know, the whole planning aspect, or managing, or different things like that. And you kind of see the skill set of all the people that are working for the event, that there's a place for everyone. And I think that's the beauty about the event, the House of Horror, is that it's a very open community, and we love anybody who wants to join us and help out in any way, shape, or form, even if it just means that, hey, I can only help out. Like, we had parents that said, you know, my child's in the music program. We want to volunteer. We can only volunteer one day to help kind of construct the maze, but that's all we can do. But, and then, yeah, sure, no worries. And, you know, we'll take them in. So it's truly is a collective effort, and lots of awesome creative minds just come together and create something super special. So I wanted to ask you, since you're a professional scare actor, you worked at Knott's Scary Farm, and you're very involved with the haunt community. What are the similarities? I know you kind of talked about this a little bit, but what are the similarities you see between the East Whittier House of Horror and, like, say, a Knott's Scary Farm or a Halloween Horror Nights?
So, I mean, like we just said, with the set alone, that will blow you away, because you walk in and it has that professional level of any other multi-million-dollar event set, and that comes from the love. But on top of that, you coming up with the idea, adopting what we went through with the scare schools, that's just like, I mean, we're essentially putting the kids or any of the other characters who volunteer through the same boot camp that we're putting at these events. You know, we learn from the best, and we say, you know what, well, let's utilize this for this haunt as well. And it works so well, because it's like you said, the first day is kind of just about getting to know one another and kind of just feeling each other's strengths, seeing who's good at this. I remember during the scare school, we tell the kids, you know, some of you, this might not be what you want to do as a scaring. You might want to do more behind the scenes, you know, and there's roles for them that do that. And that's what I think is so powerful about the event, that even goes beyond the events that you know, the big dollar events or even home haunts, is that you kind of get to find your skill set with it. You don't get that. Like, if you apply to be a character at Knott's, you're going to be a character. You'd have to do a whole separate application and process to work behind the scenes. But with the East Whittier haunt, you give them the opportunity to find out what their strength is. And if they want to learn more behind the scenes, they can do that. That's an option. And I think that's such an invaluable tool. That's something I wish I had more in school. You know, if I wanted to do that, I had to take a whole nother class. There was never an event where I could do that. It kind of came from, you know, me personally. I did a choral program, and when doing the choral program, it was about halfway through or 3 years into it in high school that I decided, you know, I want to do more behind the scenes. I don't want to necessarily be just front and center on the stage. I still have a passion and love for that for sure, but the behind the scenes is like the ultimate goal. And the East Whittier haunt opens the door for that, for kids to find this out, you know, as early as a 6th grader and even up to 8th grade in high school, which is really cool because that's something they find a love for it soon. They can work on it sooner and they can, you know, pursue that sooner. And by the time they get to high school and, you know, their junior year or whatnot, they can already have a plethora of a portfolio behind them of what they've done and what they've learned. And they can bring, you know, such a strong skill set if they want to pursue this either post-secondary or beyond, and or into a trade even. So that's something I think is strong about the East Whittier haunt. And on top of that, lastly, I'd say is the festival itself, which is super cool. This event isn't just a haunt. It's also an all-encapsulating harvest festival.
Right.
And that kind of, you know, it's like nostalgic because I think I look back to when I was a kid. You know, my sister, she had that her middle school, and it always reminded us. We used to watch a movie every year on the either the ABC Family or Disney Channel, which was Halloween Town, and we watched that every year. And that was like my bread and butter for fall season. Was like as a kid, it's like, oh, you got to watch Halloween Town. You know, pull out a bowl of caramel corn or candy corn, you know, and chew away on that while you watch that. And it's just totally just, you know, the pumpkins and the, you know, the scent of burning leaf, you know, the fall scent that you have, you know, pumpkin pie, that kind of thing. And you get that at the Harvest Festival. And then to add on top of that, that classic haunted house at the centerfold of it all, it just adds such a cool aspect to that event and enhances the atmosphere. And but that's the thing, it's not just your everyday local carnival haunt that you're going into. And that's what's so neat. You're going into a professional, you know, hundreds and hundreds of man hours, probably thousands of hours combined, put into that construction and that production that just will blow people away when they go through it. And I bet people will talk about it till the next year. You know, what are they doing next? You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And just to kind of touch upon something you said earlier, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, as us being scare actors, when we were given our role, we had 5 weeks or so to kind of refine our role. You know, I remember my first weekend being a scare actor, not Scary Farm. Looking back on it, like the 4th, 5th week, I wasn't very good that first weekend. At least in my mind, I thought man, that first weekend, oh, what was I doing? And with these kids, we're giving them really 2.5 days because Thursday's kind of a soft open, just with like, because there's a music, they put on a performance for just like their parents, and then the parents and close friends can get to go through the maze. That's on Thursday. That's their soft opening. And then there's Friday and Saturday. So they really only have about 2.5 days to refine their craft, you know, and these are middle school kids. They're not professionals. They're not getting paid. Some of them have never even been to like a haunt before. And I just give so much credit to the students that work the haunt, because it's amazing to me how quickly so many of them are able to adapt and frankly get really good at scaring within a couple of days. I mean, there's some kids that they're just naturals. Like I remember last year in the front room, the clown room, like I remember watching, because I was kind of going through the maze and making sure that everybody was doing what they needed to do and make sure the scare factor was when it needed to be. And I remember going to the front room last year in the Carnival of Fear maze. And I remember after every group that went by, every group of guests that went by, the scare actors would come out of their spots. They would congregate together in the middle of the room and start talking to each other about, okay, that was good. That's good what you did. They were like encouraging each other. Like, okay, how about this? Let's try this. How about, wait, you move there, I move there. And this is all without prompting. I was just sitting back, like impressed, like you guys are awesome. Like, I can't believe how incredibly dedicated you guys are. I mean, I gave them so much kudos afterwards. And again, it's a testament to the love and the passion I think that everyone has for this program. And you know, the students in this program, I mean, they're part of a nationally recognized music program. I mean, they compete all over the country to in festivals and locally, and they do very, very well. And I think that hard work and dedication, that's set in the classroom, is able to get, translates very well to other aspects of their lives. Whatever they participate in, they maintain that same level of hard work and dedication that has already been instilled to them by being a part of the music program at the school.
And that is exceptional. What blew me away too were the kids who, they were very shy, reserved during rehearsals, and like I knew they weren't giving it. I knew they were, in that age group especially, it's self-consciousness. You don't want to embarrass yourself in front of your peers, kind of thing, and it's always kind of feels weird to go out of your body into a performance kind of mindset, to play a part. But when they started understanding the teamwork aspect, I think it kind of ups the notch, on that, and they're able to bring it. But also I remember telling them, because that's how I was when I was younger. It was, I told them, I said, I know some of you got it in you. It's just, you need that moment where you need the costume on. You need the lighting. You need that set around you. It's like when you're performing theater, it's like, it's sometimes hard to perform in your street clothes and bring it 100%, even though you should, to practice. But some people, they can't bring it until they're in costume, they're backstage in the wings, and they see the lights on and the crowd's there, that all of a sudden, like, something just ticks, and it's like, okay, I'm ready. And I remember seeing a bunch of kids who were really shy that I taught that first day, who, when I went through with the camera to videotape the maze, I couldn't believe it was them. I was like, oh my God, like, they scared me even behind the camera. It was unbelievable, the transformation that they're able to make in just a couple weeks. And even, like you said, when the actual event happens, just a couple days. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. Well, I got one more question for you, Ryan, before we have to wrap things up.
For sure.
My question for you is, what is your favorite House of Horror memory from the past 2 years?
Oh man, that's a toughie. I would have to say my favorite memory is when I worked in I forget it was kind of like the carnival showroom. It's where it was the hay on the ground. And what really worked well, it was an experience kind of like yours, but it blew my mind. I remember we were just working so well off each other. You get one guy scaring here, the other person would time it and they'd scare, then she'd scare here, and then I'd be able to scare after. And each time it was kind of like, I just see this huddle up, they come and they'd be like, that works so well. Hey, let's try this. Let's try that. It was never, even if they got the scare, it was working. They still said, let's try to be better. Let's still try something that's even better than that. They never settled for good. They wanted to be great. They wanted to, like, really bring it. And that, I remember working in that room that night and seeing that, and it was really exceptional. And I'd say, next to that's tied for this place, was kind of what I hit on before. But I remember when I came there that Thursday, which was kind of like our soft opening, but everybody, even though it was a soft open, everybody was in it. Everybody brought it. They knew it wasn't even the festival yet, but they were performing like it was. And seeing everybody finally it all clicked, and they came together, and they all were in their character. They were in their element. I remember all of them would come backstage and they'd just be so excited and thrilled and talking about it. It's all they could talk about. That's how the job's working, and they're having fun, as if even when you're taking your break, you want to get back in there. It was never like somebody got out of there and said, oh man, can this just end already? It was, no, I got to get back in there, man. Like, do I have to take a break even?
Yeah.
So
it's like, here's your water bottle. All right, get back in.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And the kids, they appreciate it, and they may not say it necessarily, but I can tell, just speaking with parents and teachers and stuff, they all appreciate all the work that, not just like you have done, as well as like Banfield, but just, just everybody involved, where it's like I said, it's a tight knit community. We're always looking to be better. We're always looking to innovate. Like you said, we never want to just kind of accept being adequate or okay. We want to, no matter how good of a year we have, we want to raise the bar and take it to the next level. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we did have to cancel the House of Horror this year as it currently was constructed. We are going to be having a House of Horror drive-through scavenger hunt. Basically what it is, it's where the guests will get to travel from one house to the other and collect clues along a specific route of about 6 to 8 houses. And at each route, they'll get to collect a puzzle piece, which will kind of let them know what's the next clue, what house should they go to next. And on the houses, they're going to have, the houses will be decked out with different themes. I think somebody's doing Ghostbusters, another house is doing Beetlejuice. So there's cool little themes. And then to cap it off, once you collect all the puzzle pieces, you'll get to go to a drive-through trunk or treat at a secret location where there will be scare actors there, like monsters there. They won't actually be scary. They're more so just be there for entertainment. A lot of cars that are going to be decked out and Halloween decorations, as well as other themes. And any kids, I think under the age of 16 or so, will be getting candy bags at the end of the route. Now, this is going to be COVID safe. We are going to make sure that we are sanitizing the candy before we give it to the kids. And the people in the car will have to be in the car the entire time to keep not just the people in the car safe, the guests safe, but also the people helping with the event at the trunk or treat part, as well as the houses. So that's what we're doing this year, and hopefully next year in 2021, hopefully we can get back to somewhat normal. We're not sure what the future has in store, but hopefully 2021 will be a big year again for the East Whittier House of Horror. So Ryan, thank you for being here. It was a blast talking to you.
Man. Always fun.
Looking forward to doing more of these in the future. And if you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to our channel. We'll be posting more content related to the House of Horror, interviews, promo videos, and shortly we'll be, courtesy of Ryan, we'll be posting a little walkthrough video, a highlight reel of the House of Horror from last year, which was the Carnival of Fear. So again, Ryan, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely.
All right. Well, that's all for today. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.